I was disarmed by a couple of close talkers this week, and I have not yet gotten used to everyone being like, okay, we're right back to, we're going to just be shoulder to shoulder here after spending 2 years curled up in the fetal position.
But hold on a second. You guys are both complaining about too many people doing what you wanted to do. Did you just want to do it by yourselves with no one else doing it? So that you wouldn't get sick?
I'm not like casting judgment on anyone, but I don't think that it's unfair to... First of all, I'm getting attacked first thing in the morning is not what I anticipated this morning, but
you just walked in.
I literally just walked in. Haven't even finished my freaking coffee yet.
I just said good morning.
Fucking God.
Whittingham is vicious.
Okay, I will reset here because what just happened in the last minute is something that is reflective of what has happened the entire last week, Stugotz. And you live a little further away, but
thank God.
What just happened in Miami this week, okay, where everywhere I went, a tiny person I did not recognize was hopping out of a car, followed by seven cameramen, because Drive to Survive has fueled a sport that is an inaccessible sport that is now a glamour sport where a whole lot of celebrity was there yesterday, Stugotz. Matt Damon and Serena and Venus Williams and Dan Marino.
Michelle Obama was there.
Like this was
wow.
in
Secret Service.
Big time.
In Miami, go help the economy. This makes a lot of money for Stephen Ross. It's said to make as much money for Stephen Ross as an entire Dolphin season. It's a giant. What happened is rich people came in and squatted right on Miami Gardens this weekend. And we were flying out of planes, and Chris Whittingham stinks up a car, and we got distracted as an entire show and region. Jessica, do not come at me with saying we did not get distracted. We did. You don't care about the things we care about in sports around here. We got distracted.
Yes, we did.
And the playoffs started.
Yep.
Yeah. They did.
How about that?
And have almost ended also.
Yep.
We got distracted last week by the party because, Jessica, you were out there being glamour queen correspondent. I believe you identified as international F1 correspondent. Drive to Survive. You got here 18 months ago, and Miami got to that party yesterday 18 minutes ago.
Yep.
Like, we all just went like, hey, there's a big party.
I was the longest F1 fan, like, at the Grand Prix. Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Longest tenured fan.
Yeah, you're the one with the biggest credentials.
Exactly.
Actually,
I
to talk about the
to
race.
this country,
Yeah.
yes.
But it's a great point by Dan, and it's why I'm happy this race is the hell out of Miami already. Like, enough. We have lost focus on the things that are important. The Panthers are playing a playoff series. The Heat are playing a playoff series. The Heat are knotted at 2 games apiece. The Panthers are down 2-1. By the way, win a road game. But seriously, we have lost focus as a fan base on the things that are important. It's not Tom Brady. It's not Michelle Obama. It's not Matt Damon. It's not a race we don't care about. These two teams need our support, and we are not giving them our full support. They need it.
Okay, but you are on the periphery of this. You fled the premises. Our show, the rest of our show, got swallowed by it.
Yep.
Like you went to Parkland, you went up north, and you got away from the party. But Whittingham is taking naps in parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
He smells bad.
Yep.
Jessica doesn't want to be near him because God knows what happened at that track when she was doing out of a rental car with Kevin Clark. In the back seat of a rental car, there needed to be some...
Hubba hubba?
Hell yeah.
There needed to be international correspondence work done emergency from qualifying. And so, Jessica, your weekend looked a combination of swampy, because it was unbearably hot out there. Unbearably hot.
It was so hot. I talked to a lot of the media that's been covering all of the Grand Prix, and they said the closest temperature comparison is Singapore. Because even in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, it's a dry heat. So the temperature is hotter, but they don't feel it as much. It was humid and hot. It rained for like 20 seconds on Sunday, and it was blessed relief because there was a split second of cloud cover. But it was just like the hottest I've ever been in my life, and I sweat out probably like 20 pounds.
I do not mean to bring serious climate change as the wake and litter after that party.
But you are.
Come on, man. It's Monday.
Yeah, no.
Right.
And
climate change on a Monday.
You guys threw
Christ.
COVID at me like 5 minutes ago and made me have to defend myself
didn't.
for being worried about a pandemic that's still raging.
That was Whittingham.
So
man.
go ahead, Dan.
I will not do climate change on you. I'm just telling you, Jessica, having lived right near that stadium growing up the entirety of my life, we are headed for the hottest summer South Florida has ever had because it's never like it was there in May. Like, that's just a never thing. Not like that where everyone is feeling it. And I am saying of the race car drivers, God, wearing a flame retardant suit in this must be soupy as awful. Like, just awful to be driving through this soup. And what I'm telling you, you don't have to pay attention to anything else going on in the country. I've never been to a sporting event. Okay, I'm just standing there falling apart because of how hot it is in that swamp region where they brought all that noise and that big party in those cars.
70 degrees inside my house.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful. AC was pumping.
I mean, this is coming from someone who never spent a Sunday in the fish tank watching the Marlins play at 1 o'clock. Holy crap.
Sweats, yeah.
That was terrible. Those seats were on the surface of the sun.
Yeah, they were. You ever have the tan line from like the top of your knee to the beginning of your shorts where you're just burnt red from just that section of your leg? Whew, those fish tank seats.
And then you guys talk about how you never put sunscreen on your legs.
No,
fascinating that you get sunburn tan lines on your shins.
Yeah.
This whole weekend we were out in the like 100-degree sun. Not a drop of sunscreen.
You're crazy. I don't understand this. Dan, nobody in this room has put sunscreen on their legs before.
On my legs, not very often.
Well, you didn't hear Stugotz fire off into the middle of that, Chris Cody, speaking your language. Don't want to bend.
Yeah.
Was his reasoning.
I said back here, I was like, I don't even put soap on my legs. So.
Just let it drip down.
You continue to wave this flag proudly for not knowing how to clean yourself. It's a weird
gravity.
Weird place
Yeah, it's gravity.
I don't know why it is you continue.
What goes up must come down, Dan. I mean,
Now you're painting the picture of you in the shower scrubbing your toes. That's the picture you're painting for me right now.
I'm just saying that I don't know why you continue to be out here advocating on behalf of I don't know how to clean myself. You can let it go at any point.
I'm trying to save water. There's a lot of things going on.
Droughts,
boy.
Dan, yeah.
You want to cover that? We have
Trying to talk
about
about climate change.
Yeah, droughts got into discussion.
Ukraine. You want to talk that?
Well,
Pick
you
and
want
choose.
to talk
funny,
about
right?
you cannot miss the symbolism, Stugotz, of as climate change swamps our region. We continue to race these cars that burn fuel. That if one thing snaps in the engine, it costs $3 million because these are Fabergé eggs going 200 miles an hour.
We're also sending people to space like for funsies now. I'm pretty sure that's using up a lot of fuel. We've stopped caring about. We haven't started caring about climate change, so I guess you can't say we've stopped caring about it. But
Well, I've got to salute Red Bull for throwing a hell of a party in the middle of this thing because I learned so much about the Red Bull business. They come in here, grab a couple of cartoon characters, throw them out of planes, and rent all of Faena, our best hotel. They took out the whole thing and had so many employees in town that they couldn't even just be in that hotel. And then they win the race. And they're just printing money over there because it's like, did you know that they were third beverages? It's third. 6 billion Red Bull sold.
I had no
last
idea.
year.
Look
Third.
at you, an expert on Red Bull.
Well, because
How about that?
they came to Miami and threw the money in the air, and their helicopters were doing flips, and they were doing, their planes were going really fast, and then they helped fund the party that was down here. There was so much money in Miami last week.
I respect that Red Bull's entire company is just based around people talking about Red Bull. Like they don't care if you buy Red Bull.
Right.
If everyone talks about Red Bull, they oil that $6 billion machine just off of us mentioning it now like 10 times on our podcast.
Yeah, how many Red Bulls are actually drank versus how many are just laid out for promotional purposes?
Correct, right.
Our show, though, is guilty of being hopped up on so much Red Bull all of last week that we missed, and I'll mention this again, that the playoffs started.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Joel Embiid got back, huh?
Yep.
Well,
he did.
One of the things about last night that I found disappointing is they guarded him so well in the fourth quarter. Bam was fronting him in the fourth quarter. Gambling odds in Vegas, okay, Stugotz, he had 24 points with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left in the third quarter. The game prop on points for him was 25.5. 88% of the people betting had the over. So he was at 24. The game prop, he will score 25.5 games. The over, all he's got to do is hit one basket. He's got 24 points with 2.5 minutes left in the third. He never scored another point. And, Stugotz, the scary thing about the Sixers is that Bam was overwhelming on the MVP of the league defensively late. But unlike when you only have Trae Young or you only have James Harden, James Harden is a former MVP who kept killing you with absurd shots at the end of the shot clock that he shouldn't be making. Like, I'd want him taking
those shots.
I'd
Go ahead.
want him to keep taking those shots. Miami misses all of its threes, and what happened is they got buried by James Harden. Because Bam's got to work that way on Embiid, he can't go out there and also guard Harden.
I can live with that, though. Make James Harden continue to hit those shots because he won't. Make him hit those shots. I'd rather go down with James Harden hitting those shots than letting Joel Embiid beat me.
You say that now, but it's still scary. And my point is that Miami's defense was great at the end of that game. Miami's defense has carried them, and what? Because it's sometimes James Harden at the end can do that to you.
Sure.
And Miami, Jimmy Butler.
He's great.
Keeps doing these giant games, but yet you don't trust him necessarily to do that. Even as he hits some threes, you don't trust Jimmy Butler at the end of the game. Oh, is this going to come down to a game 5, game 7 late in the game? And they've got Harden and Embiid. And we've got Jimmy Butler and the Tyler Hero that showed up yesterday where you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
What
can't show up.
Like, what is it?
Right.
We're going to make Bam work like this. Lowry's going to be gimping around on a bad hamstring. Not even sure he should be out there. Like, his shot is flat. He's not making any of the threes.
He's a pinball, man. Like, he just runs into things.
Yeah, but he's not right. He doesn't have any burst. I don't know how to do this one, Stugotz. Never have. Is 65% of Kyle Lowry better than 100% of Gabe Vincent? I don't know. Like, I can't believe I'm doing that. I just don't know what
he was certainly a detriment to them last night.
I mean,
Kyle Lowry didn't help.
Both nights. It wasn't game 3 and game 4. He was awful in game 3. He's not helping.
But Spo is telling you that he thinks he is better. 65% of Kyle Lowry is better than 100% of Gabe Vincent. That's what Spo is telling you. So you have to trust your coach, don't you? That coach in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I think, the coaching conversation that's going to happen today is why isn't Duncan Robinson playing in a series where you shoot less than 20% from 3 in your away games? And if you look at the regular season numbers of all of these shooters that are having a mare of a second round, Oladipo was like 41% from 3. Strus was 40. PJ Tucker was 41. Hero was like 38 to 40. I forget the exact number. All these guys had good percentages in the regular season, and they can't make a 3. And now you're getting playoff basketballed by the Sixers where they're welcoming those shots and daring Max Strus to take 3s and daring Gabe Vincent to take 3s. And that's what hasn't happened to the Heat until right this moment, where Atlanta didn't have enough. Philly without Embiid didn't have enough to pressure you, to really put on those pressure points of you're playing role guys out there. And I don't think that Jimmy Butler should be included in that sentence of, do you trust him in a game 5? Do you trust him in a game 7? Absolutely.
No, I meant at the end of game. I just meant
even at the end at this point.
Him.
Like, I think he's playing that well that you have to trust him at the end of games. You don't trust anybody else. And that's like why, at the very least, Duncan Robinson draws respect out of your opposition, where they are, going to fight over screens. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the history of the league.
But can I get you to back up, because it wasn't but a couple of games ago that they were 21-3 with Max Strus starting. Okay, 21-3 since he made the change.
Right.
And this is how quickly it happens in the playoffs, and it happens because, oh shit, here comes the MVP. Like, it's not like
and Danny Green.
Well, yeah, and look at what it does for Danny Green, and look at what it does to go home. But I just I don't know how we fell into this trap of being distracted, because almost all the time,
Red Bull.
What happens here in Miami is happening now in Dallas and Phoenix, where the first one team wins the first 2 games easily, and then it goes back to the other place, and you're like, oh my God, it looks like a totally different thing. And I just remind you that 2 games ago, Chris Cody came on here and said it doesn't feel like the playoffs.
There was no Embiid, though,
in
his
it
defense.
didn't.
Right. It didn't feel like the
doing
playoffs
48
until Embiid put a mask on.
No, but he was
40,
saying he was saying because of Atlanta as well, it did not feel like the playoffs. It started.
Now it does.
Then Jessica,
Started quick.
Jessica,
We're alive.
Everybody else, we snorted what last week was, and then we look up and we wake up from the fog snorting F1. And what happens? Oh shit! The Heat playoffs have started. And what do you mean they lost 6-1 to the Capitals? What do you mean the Panthers lost 6-1? They've been dominated by every analytic in that series. They should be down 3-0. They're getting the Capitals are playing exactly like they want, and we have 2 games, and we're already at. Well, wait a minute. It's Max Strus. They were 21-3 with Max Strus, but now we need Max Strus to make 7 of 9 threes. Duncan can do that.
You got to insert
a 3 at least. Like just make a 3.
A3, right?
And then you maybe like can you shoot like 35% from 3?
Yeah.
The Heat would be just fine if they just shot 35% from 3.
I am totally with Whitty from this standpoint. You have to put Duncan in just to see if Duncan's hot. You have to put him in for 5 minutes. Let him take 3 threes and see if he's hot.
I am not going to coach Spoelstra's Heat team. I understand.
He started Dexter Pittman once.
All of these questions can be asked. You can do all of it, Stugotz. You can today know more than Eric Spoelstra knows about his team. To me, what has happened in this series, and I don't know why we always get into the weeds on this stuff that we forget how a team got up 2-0. It's not just that the MVP returned. It is that your role players at home and on the road, this is empirical. It's mathematical. It is so. When Danny Green plays here, he looks like Danny Green looked here. Danny Green goes there, and Danny Green looks like that. Max Strus looks like that here and looks like that there. George Niang missed 10 straight threes here. And Doc Rivers keeps playing him. I'm sure Philadelphia's saying, why the bleep is Niang in there? He's just wandering around. The role players play different games that's mathematically, empirically so.
I know it is, but I would say Strus has been bad this entire series. He hasn't reached 10 points, whether he's at home or on the road. He hasn't played well.
But they're playing him for his defense, and again, 21-3 or whatever it was when he started, because they said, what you're saying, put Duncan in for 5 minutes, and Eric Spoelstra is saying, no, 5 minutes. Do you know what James Harden will do in those 5 minutes? Because he can't play D, and we can't hide him in this series, because they got 2 guys and Danny Green can shoot. We can't hide Duncan Robinson defensively. We can't hide one guy because they got 2 guys we got to double.
But do you know what Duncan can do in 5 minutes? Hit 3 threes. Space out the court.
Maybe. And that's the question that's in play today, as you wonder, well, Kyle Lowry, he kind of stinks right now. That's injured. That's not any good. It's not helping you. So now what? You got 3 games to figure it out, and they've got 2 MVPs.
But you do have 2 home games, which if you've mentioned that role players change on the road, then you get 2 of those 3 games at home, and hopefully those shots will start to go in.
They have to change. Their role players have to do better on the road. We don't have to this series. Yeah. We can just win at home.
You're discounting the M. factor.
Really, any series.
This is why they were playing for the 1 seed all season long. What is the M. factors that
DJ M. He's not on the road with the team, but he's at home at the AAA. And he sets the vibes, and he sets the mood, and he brings in his friends like Purple, and then everybody knows, you know what, this is a party. We're not going to lose this game. Or when you go to Philly, there's no M. factor.
You are so right about this, Billy.
Great point.
We were talking, Jessica, because I do want to get back into what your party weekend was, because you seem like that F1 has sort of belched you out. A week of crazed F1 has belched you out into another work week.
Yes, I feel truly terrible. I have been dehydrated for like 5 days straight. I need an actual IV.
I want to talk to you about this. Maybe we can get somebody to bring an IV over. They do that all over the beach, and the business was booming this weekend with hangovers. But Billy, as F1 and Red Bull snorted this show, and as this show snorted Red Bull and F1.
You should just drink Red Bull, probably.
Yeah. What were you doing this weekend as Miami pulsated like a vibrant, sensual thing?
Which day? What are we talking?
Sunday.
Sunday? Oh, Mother's Day. Well, we had to go to a farm, obviously. We went to a farm. We saw some cows, some horses,
so nice.
Little piggies. And then there was a surprise we didn't know. Actually, these were very big piggies. These were huge. No, Purple was not there. But there was an animal show. And I have a
Is Purple the guy at Live? Is Purple the
Purple's
guy?
the guy everywhere.
Yeah,
Purple's
you know
everywhere.
Purple.
Yeah, you know Purple.
Is there more than
Mystery
one Purple?
Crate alum, yeah.
Is there? Okay, so it's Purple the guy who gets everyone into Live? That Purple?
Yes.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
He's the guy that makes your weekend in Miami a little bit better.
Exactly. You want a yacht? Call Purple.
Anything.
Well,
right.
Hold on a second.
Whoa.
Come on, man.
Nice to say about Purple.
Yeah, jeez.
What is wrong with Tony? Billy, Tony's judgment's bad, right?
Yeah. Tony.
Is it perpetually bad? Let's talk about this for a second, Tony, because you got another stinker of a parlay on
This
UFC.
is what he wants, by the way, is you talking to him.
No,
So
I know.
you're
Well,
just making it
I know
worse.
he's fouled everything up, but unless there's more to the petting zoo that you were at while Miami was pulsating.
At one point, I was holding my daughter in one arm and an alligator in the other arm.
Wow, what a day.
I have a photo if you'd like to see.
Whittingham, can you please find the live spot that we baited Stugotz into
Please don't.
reading because he will read anything. And we put a prank live spot in front of him. I'm eager to get back to these days because among the things that you could have imagined was somebody. Did you take a picture of that, Billy, with an alligator?
Yeah, of course, I had to.
With your child and an
'cause
alligator.
this was my thinking, is that there was all these like exotic animals there, and we thought, you know what, like she won't be scared of these things if she's like introduced to them at a young age, and then all of a sudden the handler was just like, okay, here, you're gonna hold the gator too, and I'm like, whoa.
That mouth is taped shut, right?
No, the mouth was
alligator's
not
really
taped
cute.
shut. No, the mouth wasn't taped shut. But what am I going to do? I can't panic at
It's
that
so
point.
cute.
If I panic at that point, then what happens if the gator's scared? And then she was like all into it. So she's like petting the gator, and then she has like little nails, and then she went to like the soft underbelly and started pinching. And I'm like, no. We're not going to be pinching the alligator's belly because it's calm right now. But I'm going to walk in and show you.
You should have played little piggies with the alligator.
No.
Billy was wondering if he was a bad parent last week when he was in Detroit
This is
screaming.
stunning. I
see.
cannot believe that
a
Billy,
cute gator.
who carefully
Oh my
considers
God.
Yeah, it's a
every
weird
single
look. See?
possibility of things that can
No
go
tape,
wrong,
see?
just willy-nilly carries a gator over his shoulder with his daughter in the other. Like, it's extraordinary.
I don't think people understand that Billy in this photograph is holding the gator as if he's burping the gator, as if the gator
Yes.
is his baby, and he's protecting the gator from the child, which
she's
is
a monster.
it feels like Billy is really nurturing the gator in that photo. Send Juju that photo so people can see how poorly you parent.
I mean, come on, man.
That's a big gator, man. I mean,
Jessica, your weekend was what? Are you grateful that you did it? You are an international superstar. You are an F1 correspondent that was held in very high esteem by every media outlet, including the one that mistook Patrick Mahomes for an NBA product that was 7 inches taller than Patrick Mahomes and did the most awkward interview of the weekend.
So possibly the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, like ever at any sporting event that I've ever covered, Dan. So I'll just tell the story. So I was able to get pit lane access for the W Series race. The W Series is the all-women race series that races before Formula One at select weekends. So this was their inaugural weekend. So I was covering that event, and I was also covering the Formula One event. So I was in the pit lane, and I was standing against this wall, and Ted Kravitz, who does like, I guess the equivalent of sideline reporting for Formula One, but it's more like pit lane reporting and kind of roams the track during the broadcast. He was doing a live hit from the pit lane and bumped into me and said, "Sorry, madam," which no one's ever called me madam before. So that was weird. Like, I feel like I'm more of a miss. But
Put it on the poll,
sure.
Guillermo, please, at LeBatard Show. Should a woman in her 20s feel flattered or insulted by madam?
Yeah. So he bumps into me and says, "Sorry, madam." And that ended up on Sky Sports, which is then broadcast on ESPN. So later on, I'm walking through the paddock, which is like the back area behind the garages. And that's where all the like drivers and teams and media kind of hang out.
You feel like you're in Disney. If this has been a sport that exists for you as a reality series, this access here is going to feel like being among the Disney characters.
Oh, it was
the back of the
crazy how much access we had. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be able to get that close to the drivers themselves, and like Toto Wolff and Christian Horner and like the team principals were all walking.
Many of them international
forth.
idols because of what this sport means elsewhere more than it does here. Many of these people, you are among people who are treated as gods. I'm telling you, I saw more tiny people that I did not recognize being trailed by reality television this week, where there'd be a bustle and I'd be looking, and then somebody gets out of a car who I do not know who this person is. And then they whisk off like with 70 cameramen and sound people into wherever their fantasy world is, where they eat, dinosaur bones and laugh.
Pumpernickel. That's what Toto eats with a poached egg. So anyways, we were behind in the paddock, and Yeah, there were drivers that would walk by, but you wouldn't see them because they are smaller than almost everyone else in the paddock, and so you'd just kind of turn and see the top of someone's head and be like, "Oh, it's Fernando Alonso, cool." Yeah. And there was also like,
but it's very much tiny people running around, right? Like they're
most of
people
them are
smaller than
very-
most people.
Most of them are very small, and all the retired Formula One drivers, like Jackie Stewart, was in the paddock. Like he's like even smaller.
It's almost
They're
like,
very
but it's
small.
an army of jockeys that now we're chasing the money toward because it's so funny.
Because they're the best in the world. And also, like, I will add, the access to Formula One was great, but like the W Series access that I got was phenomenal because they want people to cover this event because it's a huge series and it's really, really cool. They're all racing. It's a little bit different than Formula One. They're all racing on the same cars with the same engines. So it's really a test of drivers more so than teams. But I digress. So anyways, Ted Kravitz bumps into me. I ended up on Sky. I'm now in the paddock and I'm walking with Kevin Clark from The Ringer, who has a Ringer F1 podcast. And I bump into Ted Kravitz again and he stops me, Dan. This was the craziest thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. He stops me and he looked like he recognized me. And I was like, hi, like, because I know who he is because I see him on TV every race. And he's like, and he was like struggling to find his words. And I was like, Jessica? And he was like, yes, I listened to your F1 minute. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's lovely. I liked when you said happy birthday to Mike Krack. And Dan, I almost fell on the floor laughing.
That the biggest sports podcast in America would have people listening to it.
That Ted Kravitz heard my F1 minute. Like he could listen to his F1 coverage anywhere, but he listened to me wish happy birthday to Mike Krack.
They're trying to get into the mainstream, though. The sport is fighting to get into mainstream America as an inaccessible sport. It's an underdeveloped place for them.
But he's a Sky Sports presenter. Like I'm just a little person here. Like he's on TV on Sky Sports every weekend. He's interviewing drivers and team principals. Like he knows all these people by name. Mike Krack is the team principal for Aston Martin.
But is that
Thank
real?
you.
Is that like
It
Sounded
Yes.
like a joke.
Good question, Chris.
Mike Krack sounded,
you.
Chris, Mike Krack sounds like you would prank somebody. You would prank one of their people. Look, that guy who was in that access area who pushed Dwayne Wade aside to get after Patrick Mahomes, who wasn't
Joey
Patrick
Krack,
Mahomes.
I know, but Mike Krack.
No, Mike Krack it's a fake name. It sounds like that does not. How did we blow past Mike Krack?
So Mike Krack he had his birthday, and I said happy birthday to Mike Krack in one of my F1 minutes that Ted Kravitz then heard. So then, Dan, this is what happened. So Ted Kravitz said, I need someone to record some lines for a package that we're airing during the race. Do you think you'd be able to do it? Do you have like do you want to be on
This
camera?
is where the
basically,
story
and
gets
record?
good. Here's an opportunity that Access provides. You're just next to Mike Krack, and now you
No,
can
I'm
just.
next to Ted Kravitz, but I said
Charlie's
happy
dad,
birthday
yeah.
to Mike
Yeah.
Krack.
Next to Hugh
Exactly.
Jazz, who's the team principal of Alpine.
So he asked if I wanted to read a line in this package that they were going to record, and I was like, yes, of course. And he's like, it's basically welcoming people to Miami, and it's like Americans welcoming people to Miami in their own words. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like I live in Miami, so this is perfect. I didn't say Dolly. They gave me the lines. The lines were like
That not in your
the
own
lines
words.
were like, welcome to, well, yeah.
It's their
and
words,
I
right,
may
yeah.
have revealed too much there. It was his words, but, I approved of the words. It was Ted Kravitz's words, not Mike Krack's
I
words.
see.
Mike Krack was not here. Mike Krack is not part of the story.
Whittingham-
Absentee owner? What's going on?
Other than
there?
I wished him a happy
I
birthday.
want to finish this, but I also want to understand though why out of nowhere Whittingham was in a commercial. Is that
Okay, yes.
Hold on, but I'm just
You
curious.
hold on, Dan. Let me finish. Okay, so Ted Kravitz asked me to stay and record this thing for Sky Sports. Wow. And he needs me to record 2 lines, and then he said he wanted to get another person to record one of the third lines. Kevin Clark, who was standing right next to me, starts talking to Ted Kravitz, and he's like, I lost my voice. I don't know if I can do it. And Ted listens to his voice, and he's like, yeah, you definitely can't do it. Like, get the hell out of here. So Kevin unfortunately lost his spot. He would have been able
That's
to
how it happens.
be on it. So then I was like, well, I know someone who's here who is a professional play-by-play announcer who would be great. He's also from Miami, so I'll get Whitty involved. So then
Wow,
Whitty
you
comes
guys
down.
bumped Kevin Clark.
Well, Kevin
Amazing.
Clark bumped
Wait.
himself. He needs to use more throat coat. That's his own problem.
Right
But
place, right time.
Kevin Clark was going to welcome everyone to his Miami. He's
Well,
not
he went
from
to the
here.
U.
Well, he
I
went to
mean,
the
Right.
University of Miami.
Ah,
He went to.
He's
What?
from Orlando,
What does that have
isn't
to
he?
do with it?
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, I'm from Miami, and I'm like, aren't you from Orlando? I don't know if that's the same. But
Classic
anyways,
Ryan
I mean,
Cortez.
I'm more Miami than Kevin Clark
Well,
at this point. I mean,
and Billy is, and Billy should get that gig, but he was at a petting zoo with an alligator over his
Priorities,
shoulder.
Mother's Day, being a good
all
dad.
right,
I
Billy.
mean,
Well, next time
yeah.
you can get a credential through the FIA and come behind the scenes and accidentally bump into Ted
are you
Kravitz,
mad
and
at
then
me?
maybe
I
he'll
didn't
let
say
you on the
anything.
story. So, anyways, Dan.
Why are
so
you
You got,
Whitney
yelling
and
at
you
I,
got Whittingham a
Weird.
job.
yes.
And Whittingham,
Car park.
you didn't have the whole backstory. Whittingham, you didn't have the whole backstory where an important person could come up to you and say, "Hey, I heard that minute you did with Hey, would you blow me?"
I don't think that's a real person. I don't think they're the team principal at AlphaTauri.
Mike Krack, we all got stuff. We all got stuck on not being sure if the president understood. If you,
You guys
were
need
just
to Dan, stop talking about Mike Krack, please, for 5 seconds. You guys have been talking about Mike Krack this entire morning. Leave Mike Krack alone. So, anyways, Dan, Whitney and I stayed late on Friday, and we recorded. At first, I thought he just wanted us to record VO for it, and then he was like, "No, this is on camera." And I was like, "Oh my god, thank God he used my Dyson Airwrap this morning because my hair still looks good at 7 o'clock at night."
Jesus.
So he set us up.
Dyson
He set us
Airwrap
up. There's
again.
like this Porsche sprint race going on, which was like so obnoxiously loud, like way louder than
Yeah.
the Formula One cars, and so we had to wait for that to be over. So Whitney and I spent probably, I want to say like 12 hours at the track that day, just sweating.
is that
Mike
the
Krack's off.
Is it,
And then we recorded these little sounders that he then Ted Kravitz texted me and was like, "This is gonna air during qualifying," and I was like, "Cool, it'll be on ESPN. Like a lot of people will see it." And then on Saturday he texted me and he's like, "Actually, this is gonna air on Sunday." Before the race. So it was
Wow.
on ABC. So like
Race
so
day.
many people texted me. Like my parents saw it. My mom was
and
crying
that's this-
apparently
you-
when she saw me on TV.
She was crying?
on Mother's Day.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I was like, wow, like
What
this
a
is all
gift.
because
Yeah.
of my Krack.
Right before Bend Over leads Williams into the Miami Grand Prix.
Kevin Clark's from Orlando.
Steve Martin also.
O-Town.
Billy,
Hey,
are you mad that Kevin Clark had to dispense? Yeah, why did Kevin Clark get the power to dispense to others
don't
what
care.
Miami represents?
no, I like Kevin Clark. I wouldn't say Kevin Clark's Miami, though. He's not. I mean,
He strongly represents the University of Miami. on
that's
social
not
media.
Miami either.
Does that mean?
Well, but Tony, you were talking. I heard you talking before the show about this, and you were. It was pretty funny. I don't know what you were doing because there was a lot of Miami at F1. I met the only in Dade people who I really admire. I really do because they've hustled. They've Cuban hustled their way into becoming a news organization that works with the community.
News organization.
I mean,
is a
I
bit
know
of a
they do a
stretch.
lot of dumb shit too, but you can't argue that they would be funny as being more Miami than Kevin Clark.
Oh, they're absolutely more Miami than Kevin Clark, but they're a news organization are a bunch of chismosos.
Okay, but regardless, why? Yes, that too.
So, guys, explain that joke.
I don't know. I just felt like you needed support, so I gave it to you.
Half,
You know
of,
what?
half
I
of the
love you.
Channel
You're
7
welcome.
news is only in Dade videos at this point.
They have a segment on NBC
They
6.
really?
report,
A
like,
weekly
They
segment.
report like
Shout.
traffic
Kelly
and
Blanco.
accidents better than anyone else, I will say, and weather and like weird things like, oh, there's a horse in the middle of the highway. Like that's what you
Well,
would
they-
find that on Only in Dade.
That was on Bird
Right
Road.
by their office,
Did that
too.
actually
yeah.
happen? Because I just thought
yeah,
of
that's
something
real.
random off
Yeah.
the top of my head.
They get news quicker than most because the community is working for them because they've got a bunch of people who are trained to send them the funny, weird stuff that happens in Miami, and there's plenty of it. They get into the terrain of stuff, and they really are pioneers, even though some of the stuff they do is immature.
I think they're legally required to show at least one car that's on fire per 24 hours.
There's so many
How
car
are there
fires.
so many cars on
That
fire?
is such a good question.
There's so
Why?
many car fires and so many trucks that end up in the marina. Every single day, we lose like 8 trucks. Every day. 10 this year, 10 this week.
Whitney and I were thinking, like, if there was some way we could get Peepo to come on that thing and invite people to the Dolphins Stadium and then remind them that it's also the home of the Miami Hurricanes, because they made me read a line that it was the home of the world famous Miami Dolphins, and I was thinking Peepo would have done a really good job with that. But then he said, like, this is for English people, and I was like, I don't know if the English would really appreciate the nuance.
Of people.
nuance of
Well, this is
people.
this is what Tony, why were you saying the phrase again and again this morning, as Billy says, calls others chismosos? Why were you saying yo no pinto nada ahí? You were I don't understand what it is you guys were talking about, but you were stuck up on the phrase yo no pinto.
That's a refrán actually, Dan. It's on the wheel, but yeah, yo no pinto nada mirando F1. That's my thing, right? Like Miami people, they want to go party and stuff. There. But I don't paint anything watching F1. He doesn't paint anything. I don't paint anything doing it.
Okay, people don't understand what you're doing there. I don't think but what were you guys arguing?
I'm one of them.
What were you guys arguing about? Because you were saying that F1.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
For a weekend, it's exhausting to learn things and make the effort. And I saw videos of people walking off the expressway to get there, and it's like, just come on.
Oh, it's a long. Everyone had to. I mean, it was miles of walking because.
Miles of walking. Are we raising money for something? I'm not walking for free. Get out of here. This isn't March of Dimes exactly. I'm not going to be doing that. For what? Just to put a picture on Instagram?
The jump-a-thon, the old jump-a-thon for the Heart Association.
Tony, I saw Bad Bunny. I was this close. I was closer to Bad Bunny than I am to you right now. He was next to me.
Well, Bad Bunny just came out with the biggest album of the summer right now. Un Verano Sin Ti. It's going to be incredible. The point is, okay, Dan, yo no pinto nada doing anything with F1. Yeah. I'm real Miami. I don't have to go and show up in the button-down shirt like Mike Ryan, Formula One, and be like, oh, I'm here, everybody look at me. No, I'm good. I'm at my house. I'm doing stuff with Billy. We're doing other things.
You know what's funny? Because I got dragged, and rightly, for...
Were you wearing a polo with basketball shorts?
I think he was. Yeah.
I will tell you what happened to me. Because I did not realize that I thought I was headed into some swampy, awful race because I was there the day before, and I didn't think I was headed to like the Met Gala of fashionable sports people. It was unbearably hot out there the day before when I was dressed appropriately, and so I'm like, bleep this. I'm going to just bum out so I can be comfortable because I'm melting, because it's way too hot out here, and I'm in VIP air-conditioned alleged land. Like, he snorted.
Why'd you go? I mean,
because they were very nice about making me feel welcome and representing Miami there. But I did not go on Sunday thinking that I was going to a fashion show or a Miami, Kentucky Derby. And so I was embarrassed by the way that I was dressed. But I will tell you that I was a hell of a lot more comfortable than the day before when I was falling apart and feeling bad for you guys being around the garages for 12 hours wearing what you were wearing. And Jessica, you were trying to wear stuff that would have been breezy, but it was unbearable out there.
Yeah, I was trying to be like cute, but also like Miami cute, where you can like get some, easy access to the back sweat, like open back things. Like Danica Patrick does the Sky Sports show also. Like she's on with like Jensen Button and Simon Lazenby. And I noticed she had some open back dresses, and I was like, that is definitely the place. So I did that on Sunday. But as hot as it was in the paddock around like all the cars and all the people, the track was so unbearably hot. I got grid access for like a hot second before the first W Series race on Sunday, which was their second race of the weekend. And I stood out there at 10 a.m. for maybe 5 minutes. And I was just roasting alive. I felt like I was a little skewer on a grill, Dan. I felt terrible after that. I had to immediately go into AC. I can't imagine sitting in a car in a fire suit for 2.5 hours like these drivers do, and just you lose like 10 pounds while you're racing because you just sweat it all out.
But they have things cooling them. Like they're not just in those like long sleeves.
There's nothing in the world that can cool you when you're driving on a track.
I think the cars have cooling systems, don't they?
They can't.
The cars have cooling systems for themselves, like for the engines to keep the engines from overheating. But the drivers it's all open.
No, like
all of a sudden everyone's an F1 expert.
Yeah, like a college game day, Reese Davis wears a shirt that has like water in it that's shooting cold temperature throughout his body.
I know before the race they wear like these ice vests over their suits, but I don't think they wear those in the car, Billy. I don't think they can.
In the press room, they have like a bunch of cool data that you can see during the race. And one of the things that they show was track temperature. Now, they show it in Celsius because it's a European-based thing, so I had to convert it. On the track, it was 120 degrees. Not like with humidity, just straight up 120 degrees on the track. There is no amount of cooling systems. There's no amount of things you can put in that flame retardant suit. There is nothing that is stopping you from being overbearingly hot for 3 straight hours.
My wife, it was so charming, sort of, because these are not things that she knows about. So she was watching the race and wondering how hot it was inside of those and if it would be cooling at all because they're going so fast in a convertible. They are open air, and I don't imagine that 200 miles an hour cools them much because it is a swampy Everglades heat.
They're also completely covered head to toe. Like they wear a balaclava underneath their helmet, and then the only piece of their skin that is like a little bit uncovered is around their eyes, but then they have a visor over it because they have a helmet on. So it's not like you're getting like a breeze through your hair while you're driving.
But it's wonderful to see people gather around, try to figure this stuff out. As a sporting spectacle, Stugotz, it's pretty dumb to have the guy who gets the lead very quickly, has a better card, and he's just going to stay ahead the whole time and be a giant favorite for the next 55 laps. And we're just going to watch everybody go around in circles. And
just keeps blocking everyone.
But it's fun to watch fast cars and make a loud noise and all that stuff. But as a sporting spectacle, what we were watching yesterday was ordained as soon as Verstappen got 3 laps in, right?
Well, we'll get to it in my F1 minute, but yeah, he passed Charles Leclerc on lap 9, and then from then on, the only hope for Ferrari was a safety car, which there was towards the end of the race in lap 41 when Lando Norris hit Pierre Gasly, which I contend is Pierre Gasly's fault for wandering too close to the middle of the track. But Lando had to retire his car, so then there was a safety car. So then essentially all of the time in between the cars that the leads that have been built up through the race gets goes out the window because they're all following the safety car. So there was some hope that maybe with a different tire strategy, Ferrari would be able to have fresher tires and make an attempt to overtake Verstappen towards the end, but that did not happen. So Verstappen did win. I will say as a in-person sporting event, I prefer to watch it on TV. You can actually tell what's going on TV. In person, it's more of a music festival atmosphere, and there's things happening here and things happening there.
DJs and Post Malone.
I was on turn 1 for probably most of the race, and I saw Verstappen overtake Leclerc on turn 1, which was really cool. But that was the only action that I saw. The rest of it was just zoom, 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 and I was kind of trying to follow along on the in-circuit broadcast and seeing what was happening on the other parts of the track. But if you're not really paying attention to that, you're like, oh, Hamilton's up to 6th now. And then a minute later, oh, Hamilton's in 5th now. You don't know what's going on the other parts of the track. So I will say watching it on TV is definitely easier if you're a fan.
I was going to ask you guys that because everything I saw was on social media, and people that actually had seats, it seemed like you could just basically see your corner where you were, and then you couldn't see the rest of the racetrack because the stands weren't high enough to see the whole thing.
Well, they built a whole city that's not usually there. They built it was bridges.
But NASCAR and stuff has high bleachers where you could see
the whole thing.
Yeah,
right.
no, Billy, you're absolutely right. The track is so big. There's no bleacher high enough that you'd be able to see the entire track.
There's
even
also
the
a
helicopter.
Stadium that separates.
Were there big TVs though, screens?
Yeah, there were big TVs everywhere. There were huge screens. There was a huge screen in the Hard Rock Stadium that you.
Oh, I couldn't believe how much they put there,
but
but they built a city there. That's not what exists there normally. They built an entire city they raced around the stadium is what they did. They raced around Hard Rock Stadium and tried to make it look like Miami.
They raced in a car park.
It's a parking lot, what they were racing around, and they just built an entire city around it. That's not what that stadium ever looks like. That they made it 4 and 5 times as big, the entire space. It's what Huizenga wanted to do with all of that land a million years ago when he was trying to build Disney World there and put sporting complexes in the middle of it.
And by all accounts, it seemed like it went off without a hitch. There weren't any major safety concerns or anything like that. There weren't any last-minute adjustments they had to make.
I can't believe we didn't embarrass ourselves as a city. I can't believe they pulled it off.
I think it went really well, and the drivers were unhappy about the surface of the actual track. The asphalt was coming up in parts and causing little tiny asphalt pebbles, which are bad for your engine. They can slow you down and cause less grip on your tires. So there was a little consternation about that, but that is that sort of variance between tracks is normal, and so you just have to kind of get adjusted to what
always
a track
complaining
is
these
giving you.
drivers.
There's always, deal with the elements. Drive on the Palmetto and then tell me about bad streets, okay? And
everything's got to be smooth and perfect.
Please.
Well, yeah, if you're a driver, you want
Perfectly
perfect
tarred.
conditions all the time. But the variance is what gives you different types of races. So this race, there's a racing line, and the racing line is the track that everyone has been racing over. And so you get better grip on it because it's more worn. And so if you went off of the racing line to try to overtake or anything like that, it was causing some issues and like there wasn't as much grip. So it was causing loss of control for some drivers. So that's why there was some overtaking in the race, but there wasn't a ton of it. And I think the race engineers, the people who'd actually designed the circuit, anticipated a little bit more, but because of the race, like the circuit surface, it was harder.
We're falling into the same trap that we did last week.
Yep.
We're banging on about Formula One.
Exactly.
While the Miami Heat
eye on the prize
are in a series.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and the Florida Panthers have gotten their ass kicked for 8 out of 9 periods in a hockey series.
This is where I was headed, okay, when I was saying that my wife had a couple of observations like that. The second
weekend observations, huh?
Valerie's weekend observations.
She made it, by the way.
Yeah, she survived.
Yep.
She did. She did the helicopter flips. I don't know what happened to the video.
Coming out after Ricky's weed farm visit.
Yep.
How much did Lewis partake in in Ricky's weed farm visit, and why do these things get clogged in the system? Because Lewis is partaking in Ricky's weed farm. That video was from the Super Bowl. It's like 3 months old. Where's the weed farm?
Well,
video?
really, it's on this company for sending Luis to a weed farm.
Lewis didn't go. I was there.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Oh, even worse.
That explains it.
Jesus.
Well, where
Lewis
is
was
the
here.
video? Where is the video from you guys spending an entire day at Ricky's weed farm?
Oh, it's in the works.
What?
What does that
The
mean?
Super
Yeah,
Bowl-
it's just this is such an important
musical.
thing.
We
Guys
made
that
a-
hit
right. No, for
record
sure.
did it, yeah.
It's such an important
Yeah, you wanna
piece of
get it
content
just
that we
right.
want to get it just right.
Anyway.
Exactly. Billy gets it.
No rushing it. Yeah.
Witty, so this is a conversation that I had last night, and it's a real conversation. Why is he wearing a mask? Well, his face is broken and his orbital bone is shattered, and he was trying to walk into the arena before Game 3, and I could tell that, the lights were bothering his eyes. And her response was, he should rest.
Totally fair point.
Yeah.
Really shouldn't be playing. And yet, it's completely changed the series.
But I just loved it as an observation because, yes, absolutely, any human being with a rightful mind, except those in Philadelphia who would drag him.
But Valerie, Game 3.
She's like, yes, what do you mean? He
Must
again,
win.
I saw him walk into the arena. He was averting his eyes from the lights. His head doesn't work right. 19,000 people screaming at you. Seems unpleasant with Bam Adebayo.
Win or go home, though, Dan.
I know. He
Yep.
should rest. And then Stugotz will be there the next day to Chris Paul. You did it on a Sunday instead of on a Friday. So I'm here to pounce on you, Chris Paul. You did it. Here I am. I'm here. No matter what you're playing through at 37, wait till I get done with you today, Chris Paul.
Although it was more like 18,999 Sixers fans screaming because there's that one guy who was dead asleep in the first row.
That was great. Yeah.
And Miami fans are bad.
I feel like they should be able to design their masks the same way that they can like design their shoes. Remember, like LeBron got in trouble because he had to wear like a clear mask at the time, and they told him he couldn't wear the Batman mask anymore. I feel like if you have to wear a mask because your face is broken, at the very least, like give them the ability to make it look cool, right? Like a hockey goalie,
his
or
looks
you could make it
cool,
look
though.
like but he could paint it like the Joker's face or something like that. Like imagine if you're running around with like a really
a good idea.
scary mask.
But wasn't
yeah.
there when LeBron wore the mask because it looked cool and because it had some supervillain elements to it? They both look cool in the mask. Wasn't that talked about? The league wouldn't allow it to have any personality, none.
Yeah, no, they told him he had to stop wearing the black mask. Yeah,
Right.
because it's the Heat and they hate the Heat.
But also, Jimmy Butler told Joel Embiid, "Fuck your mask."
well, and then they lost again. So.
Oh, I take that back.
That's what Whitty said to me this morning about wearing a mask in his car. I mean, god damn.